My friend, I want to speak with you about something that may sound paradoxical, even absurd, to the modern mind that has been conditioned to believe that transformation comes through constant effort, through doing more, achieving more, becoming more. What if I told you that the most profound changes in your life might emerge not from adding more activities, more practices, more goals to your already full existence, but from discovering what happens when you simply do nothing? Not the nothing of escape, distraction, or numbness, but the alert, aware nothing of simply being present to what is already here, without agenda, without the compulsive need to improve, fix, or change anything at all. This may seem impossible to your action-oriented mind, but can we explore together what it might mean to transform your life through the radical act of not doing? First, let's examine what you usually mean when you think about transforming your life. Perhaps you believe you need to develop better habits, read more books, attend workshops, practice meditation techniques, exercise more consistently, eat more healthily, organize your schedule more efficiently, communicate more effectively, or pursue new goals with greater discipline. All of these approaches assume that you are currently insufficient and need to add something to yourself to become who you should be. They operate from the premise that transformation is something you do rather than something that happens when you stop interfering with the natural intelligence of life. But watch what occurs when you try to transform yourself through effort and action. You begin with enthusiasm, perhaps starting a new exercise routine, committing to daily meditation, or deciding to be more patient with your family. For a while, willpower carries you forward, and you feel proud of your new commitment to change. But gradually, the effort becomes burdensome. You miss days, make exceptions, and eventually return to your old patterns, often feeling guilty and defeated about your lack of consistency. This cycle repeats throughout your life. The decision to change, the initial effort, the gradual decline, the return to familiar patterns, the self-judgment about your failure to transform. What if this entire approach is fundamentally flawed? What if true transformation happens not through doing, but through understanding, not through effort, but through awareness, not through becoming something else, but through clearly seeing what you already are? Consider what happens when you simply sit quietly without any agenda for change or improvement. Perhaps you choose a comfortable chair in your home, put away your phone and other distractions, and just sit. Immediately, the mind begins its commentary. This is boring. I should be doing something productive. I have too many responsibilities to waste time sitting around. This is not going to help anything. These thoughts reveal how deeply conditioned you are to believe that value comes through activity, that worth must be earned through achievement, that life must be filled with doing to have meaning. But what happens if you remain sitting despite these mental protests? if you neither fight the thoughts nor follow them, but simply observe them arising and dissolving like clouds in the sky, gradually you may notice that underneath the mental agitation is a natural stillness, a peace that was always present but obscured by constant mental and physical activity. This stillness is not empty or vacant, but alert and alive, aware and present. This quality of alert stillness, this conscious presence that emerges when you are not trying to be anyone or do anything, is your natural state. It is not something you need to create or achieve, but something you can recognize and rest in. When you touch this stillness regularly, when you allow yourself to be nourished by periods of conscious non-doing, something begins to shift in how you approach all activities. The actions that emerge from this stillness have a different quality than actions driven by compulsion, habit, or the belief that you must constantly be productive. They arise from clarity rather than confusion, from love rather than fear, from genuine interest rather than obligation. You may find yourself naturally eating in ways that truly nourish your body, not because you are following a diet, but because you can feel what your body actually needs. You may discover yourself speaking more truthfully in relationships, not because you are practicing communication techniques, but because pretense becomes uncomfortable when you are connected to your authentic nature. Let us explore this through specific examples from daily life. When you wake up in the morning, instead of immediately reaching for your phone or jumping into mental planning for the day, what happens if you simply lie in bed for a few minutes, aware and present, but not trying to accomplish anything? You might notice the quality of light in your room, the sounds outside your window, the feeling of your body resting against the mattress. This simple presence sets a different tone for your entire day, a tone of awareness rather than reactivity, of spaciousness rather than urgency. During your morning routine, instead of rushing through, brushing your teeth, showering, and getting dressed while mentally rehearsing your schedule, what happens when you give your full attention to these simple activities without any agenda for improvement or efficiency? You might discover that these routine activities become moments of meditation, opportunities to practice presence, ways of beginning your day from centeredness rather than stress. At work, instead of constantly filling every moment with tasks, emails, and productivity, what happens when you occasionally pause and simply sit at your desk without doing anything? Not as procrastination or avoidance, but as conscious rest, as a way of allowing your nervous system to settle and your mind to clear. You might find that these brief periods of non-doing actually enhance your productivity when you return to work, allowing you to approach tasks with greater clarity and creativity. During conversations with family members or friends, instead of always having an agenda to solve problems, give advice, or share your own experiences, what happens when you simply listen with complete presence without trying to be helpful or entertaining? You might discover that this quality of presence is actually more helpful than any advice you could offer, that people feel truly heard and understood in a way that creates genuine connection and often allows their own wisdom to emerge. The invitation to transform your life by doing nothing does not mean becoming passive, irresponsible, or disengaged from life's practical requirements. You still need to work, maintain relationships, take care of your health, and handle daily responsibilities. But these activities can be approached from a different place, from the stillness and awareness that you discover in periods of conscious non-doing, rather than from the driven, anxious energy that characterizes so much modern activity. When you approach activities from this centered place, you often discover that you accomplish what needs to be accomplished with less effort and stress. Tasks that once felt burdensome become interesting. Relationships that once felt complicated become simpler. Problems that once seemed overwhelming become manageable. This is not because you have learned new techniques or developed better skills, but because you are no longer creating unnecessary suffering through mental resistance, overthinking, and the constant feeling that you should be somewhere else, doing something else. Many people resist the idea of transformation through non-doing because they fear it will make them lazy, unambitious, or unsuccessful. But observe people who have learned to act from stillness rather than compulsion. They often accomplish more meaningful work with less stress, maintain better relationships with less drama, and experience greater satisfaction with less consumption. The peace they discover in periods of non-doing actually enhances their capacity for effective action when action is called for. The practice of conscious non-doing also reveals how much unnecessary activity fills your life. When you regularly experience the satisfaction of simply being present without agenda, you begin to question whether all your busyness is actually necessary or just habitual. You might discover that many activities you thought were important are actually ways of avoiding the discomfort of being still, ways of maintaining the illusion that your worth depends on your productivity. This is not to suggest that all activities are necessary, but to question which activities arise from genuine need or interest, and which arise from compulsion, boredom, or the fear of not being enough. When you can distinguish between necessary action and compulsive doing, you may find that your life naturally simplifies, that you have more time and energy for what truly matters, because you are no longer wasting resources on activities that serve no real purpose. The transformation that comes through non-doing is often subtle and gradual. You may not notice dramatic changes immediately, but over time you might observe that you are less reactive to stressful situations, more patient with difficult people, less driven by anxiety, and more guided by inner knowing. These shifts happen not because you work to change these patterns, but because regular contact with your natural stillness gradually dissolves the conditioning that creates unnecessary suffering. Some people worry that if they stop trying to improve themselves, they will remain stuck in destructive patterns. But notice that all your efforts to change yourself through willpower and technique have probably not created lasting transformation. The patterns you're trying to change are usually symptoms of deeper misunderstanding about your true nature. When you discover through non-doing that you're already whole and complete, that peace is your natural state, that love is what you are rather than what you need to get from others, the destructive patterns often dissolve without effort because they no longer serve any purpose. The mind may protest that transformation through non-doing is too simple, too easy, too good to be true. The mind is accustomed to complication, to effort, to the drama of struggle and achievement. But simplicity does not mean easy, and non-doing does not mean effortless. It requires tremendous courage to stop running, to face yourself without distraction, to be present to life without the constant need to improve or escape it. As we conclude this exploration, I invite you to experiment with this approach. Find time in your day, even just a few minutes, to sit quietly without any agenda for accomplishment or improvement. Do not try to meditate. Do not attempt to feel peaceful. Do not work to stop thinking. Simply sit and be aware, allowing whatever is present to be present without resistance or judgment. In this simple sitting, in this conscious non-doing, you may discover the most profound teacher you will ever encounter, your own natural wisdom, your own inherent peace, your own capacity for love and understanding. This discovery does not require years of practice or complex techniques. It is available right now, in this moment. When you stop trying to get somewhere else and allow yourself to rest in the extraordinary simplicity of just being here, just being aware, just being yourself without any need to be anything more than what you already are.